So I'm resuming from yesterday with a brief video yesterday, just a backstory of Bello, Wizard of Bensonhurst, and a few uh, things came up where I'd like to mention the follow-up wonderful reception that brief video received from a few individuals who were important in my career, in my life. Joseph Scelsa, director of the Italian American Museum, newly completed in Lower Manhattan. Bill Connell and Sarah Pondicherra of Seton Hall University collected my archive. Bill's an important scholar and author, organizer, facilitator. Sarah's a wonderful archivist, librarian. And a few individuals here I heard from which brightened my heart. Rebecca West, important author and a scholar of Italian-American affairs. Ava Creighton, lawyer, attorney, golf partner. Kayla Jewell, George Guida. Bill Tonelli, author of an important book called The Italian-American Reader of some time ago, which is still available, which I highly recommend. And last, of course, but not least, Ellen V. Nirenberg, partner and field manager. I'm recording. Sorry about that. My handler's calling me away temporarily, and this world tour is about in the heat of the summer, with the planet boiling and firing. To begin with the current work and work back. So Carol Lee Woodring, a colleague who I worked with, it seems like a solid year, maybe even more. And all the while, little did I know that Carolyn is a professional ballroom dancer, which when I saw it really impressed me how modest she was and is, and how wonderful. So she said that last time there was a promise of a reading and it didn't happen. So I thought I'd do it now, briefly. This is a chapter called Billy Bello Learns a Lesson. And he's arrested for attempted robbery, and the victim is someone who had abused his dog, kept kicking his dog, shoving it away with his foot. And the fellow was waiting with a pistol on his bed when Billy climbed into his window. The challenge to this, going along with the backstory material, was the sound of this. Now, this was, of course, written in 1978, 79. What I remember was the sound harked back to a boy of around 14 years old. And then, of course, the story was already written at a later time. So it's the interesting challenge of a hybrid of voices, young and older, somewhere in between. Goes like this, a little bit of it. The holding pen in the courthouse was more like an encampment of a beaten army than a jail cell. Instead of iron bars, there was chicken wire which rose all the way to the ceiling. It was a gigantic square, and posted all around were uniformed armed guards. Beyond the guards was a lot of empty space, but I couldn't make out what was in this space because it was dark. A couple lit naked light bulbs lit up the place. We were waiting to go before the judge. Guys and women, too, clustered for different reasons. I figured blacks would stay together, Puerto Ricans would stay together, and white kids would stay together, but this wasn't the case. There were other bases to get together. Guys who knew each other from before got together to discuss old times and recent crimes. These didn't look too unhappy. They talked loud and laughed a lot. Some guys who knew each other from before were enemies, and jail is a good place to carry out vendettas, so a few guys were asking the guards for protection. Crime partners arrested together waited together. Prostitutes, no matter their color, huddled together. Guys who were well-dressed stayed together, and guys who dressed sloppy stayed together. Puerto Ricans who spoke English good stayed away from Puerto Ricans who didn't speak English too good. In general, though, not too many blacks and Puerto Ricans mingled, and you didn't see too many white faces among them. There were divisions according to the type of drug used. Most of the white kids used goofballs or barbiturates like I had, and the heroin users stayed away from them, and the cocaine users stayed away from the heroin users. A lot of guys claimed to use cocaine when they really used heroin, cocaine being a prestige drug even then, and everybody stayed away from these guys. The heroin users stuck together because they asked the guards in concert when the methadone was going to be distributed. Methadone is a drug like heroin, but distributed legally in clinics and in jail so guys don't get sick or die or have to detox cold turkey. Although it was freezing, heroin and methadone users were sweating, and a lot of them had yellow, teary eyes, pimply skin, flaming red runny noses, which they constantly squeezed, and purple scars running up and down their arms like railroad tracks. They kept telling the guards they had diarrhea, but the guards didn't believe them. There were guys standing alone for their own good personal reasons. One was crying. Another guy was rocking back and forth, apologizing to no one in particular for what he'd done. One guy with tinny eyes wearing a tweed coat down to his ankles was singing. He was terrific. After he finished, I went up to him and congratulated him. Thank you. I sang at the Apollo, man. I've never been to the Apollo. I think I went to Harlem once as a kid on a guided tour. The people from Bensonhurst just don't go to Harlem. Then again, I wasn't allowed to go swimming in Sunset Park, which is in Borough Park, right next to Bensonhurst, because of the germs in the water, Ma said, even though most of the swimmers were white. I'd never been so close to these types. Guys with afros as huge as the wingspan of great birds. Guys with tattoos on their arms and chests, mainly depicting flowers, snakes, their girls' names with arrows through them, and there were guys with diamond and pearl studs in their noses and ears. One guy near me had 5 studs in one earlobe. He was singing on the floor. He was sitting on the floor writing. I went over to him because he looked peaceful and asked if the studs stood for anything. Yeah. The middle 3 are the colors of the black flag, red, green, and black. What do the top and bottom studs stand for? I asked him. Nothing. They act as borders, he said. What are you writing? I asked him. Poetry. I always write poetry in jail. I draw, too. Can I read it? Sure. You can have it. Thank you. His name was Rivers, and this is the poem he gave me. It's entitled Nice. Time in, time out. How is everybody doing? I hope they are feeling someone about. As for me, I am coming along okay, because you see, I have gone another day, and it has not been wasted away. I really have a wonderful feeling walking down the street, not worrying about the cop on the beat. I don't have many complaints, that is true, but then again, I am still not feeling blue. I thought I'd end this particular video today. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate everybody. And we'll see you as soon as possible. Thank you.